Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Morning They Came for Us, Dispatches from Syria, by Janine di Giovanni, narrated by Teri Schnaubelt. Only the dead know the end of war. Plato. In such a world of conflict, a world of victims and executioners, it is the job of thinking people not to be on the side of the executioners. Howard Zinn, A People's History of the United States. Wars have no memory, and nobody has the courage to understand them until there are no voices left to tell what happened, until the moment comes when we no longer recognize them and they return, with another face and another name, to devour what they left behind. Carlos Ruiz Zafón, The Shadow of the Wind. Introduction. It was the winter of 2011, and I was in Belgrade. The war that had destroyed Yugoslavia had been over for many years, but I was working on a project tracing war criminals. It was an intractable task, but the potent emotion I felt toward the Balkan Wars and their aftermath was not rational. It was a terrible fever, not unlike malaria, recurring in your bloodstream forever once you got it, that had gripped me since I had reported from Bosnia in the early 1990s. The men who had caused such evil and such harm, who had burnt villages and bombed schools and hospitals, who had mutilated children and raped women en masse, were still living in villages, going fishing at weekends, and having picnics with their grandchildren. It made me feel physically ill thinking about them living unreservedly while their victims were dead. And I would trail the events that led to the downfall of that sorrowful country. In Sarajevo one year, I spent days, which turned into weeks, with the man who ran the morgue during the war. He had not only arranged the bodies and prepared them for burial, but he also diligently kept notebooks with every name, every detail of their time and their cause of death. Bullets, shrapnel, explosion. He called it the Book of the Dead. One morning he arrived at the morgue and found his only son, a young frontline soldier, laid out on the slab. He survived and grew old, and when I found him 2 decades after the war ended, we went through the books carefully. But his partner at the morgue, a less robust man, had killed himself years before. I wanted my fever to break, but it never did. Throughout the new millennium, criminals from the Balkan Wars, rapists and murderers, went unpunished. I talked to women who had been kept in camps and violated, sometimes a dozen times a day. Women who were forced to carry their rapists' children. Yet, post-war, owing to the division of the country and the fact that no one really knew who their neighbors were anymore, these women had to face their rapists daily, passing them in the local shops or on the street, at the schools where they took their children. It was the victims, not the perpetrators, who dropped their eyes in shame when they passed one another. But some of them met their fate. Radovan Karadzic, the psychiatrist, football fanatic, poet, and leader of the Bosnian Serbs, who led the puppet regime for Slobodan Milosevic, the former president of Serbia, had been caught while riding on a bus in 2008. He had been in disguise and had been in hiding since the war ended in 1995, living under a false name and posing as a New Age healer. Karadzic is, at this time of writing, being tried for alleged war crimes, but no verdict has been reached. Slobodan Milosevic, the leader of Serbia throughout these wars, had been carted off to The Hague in his bedroom slippers by helicopter in 2001. The day it happened, I was also in Belgrade, but I drove all night to get to Sarajevo, the city he had hated and almost destroyed, to witness the reaction of the people. I expected to find jubilation that Milosevic was getting his just desserts, but instead I found weariness. My friends, former soldiers, lawyers, students, doctors, mothers, teachers, were too tired to celebrate, to think that this meant something in terms of retribution. Everyone just
Sample complete. Ready to continue?